you need to get out of this boxed thinking and think to yourself, what are the other things that my buyers do that don't necessarily relate to my service or product? And where are they? One of the major problems is that we've got cheerleaders, not coaches. For some people, they get it done, and for others, their excuses become bigger than their commitment.
What one key piece of advice would you like to give to all the entrepreneurs watching and listening today?
I think the thing I'd finish up with is you've got to back yourself 24/7. There's no days off.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Business Growth Show. I'm your host, Ethan Cassiotis, and today I have an awesome guest. Her name is Shani Taylor. She's the winner of Global Coach of the Year in the Women Changing the World Awards, presented by the Duchess of York, and having shared the stage with A-list celebrities such as Vaughn and Elizabeth Hurley, fashion icon Tommy Hilfiger, Canadian ice hockey pro Wayne Gretzky. As an international speaker, she shares her wisdom in leadership, sales, marketing, human behavior, communication, and connection that she has studied for the last 20 years and uses her practice as a mentor to professionals and business owners in 24 countries around the world. An author from Ignored to Adored, ignite connection and communication online to attract your soulmate clients. Without being salesy, you will enjoy hearing Shani speak on her in-depth knowledge of how to effectively communicate, influence, and lead to create more enriching and connected relationships in any area of business and life, so you can master the lost art of human connection and be seen and heard for your unique message. Welcome, Shani Taylor, and thank you for being on the Business Growth Show.
Oh, thank you very much. It's awesome to be here. I'm excited for our chat today.
Definitely. I'm sure it's going to be fun for everyone watching and listening today. So, Shani, you are a successful entrepreneur. So for those people who don't know who you are, just, introduce yourself by telling us a little bit more about you and your journey.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously you just shared kind of where I'm at now. I do have clients in 24 countries around the world. And ultimately what I do is I take businesses to their first 1 million. And that's no easy feat, right, Ethan? I mean, you're also very successful and you also work with business people. I love what you do around, it's the fast track of an MBA, the way that you work with your clients. And most businesses don't get to the $1 million mark, as I'm sure you know. And in fact, 7%. And we've got 3.3 million businesses in Australia. And so what that means is about 240,000 businesses in Australia alone will ever reach that, which means 93% of businesses fail. And ultimately what I do is give people a map to 1 million and really give the clear steps on how to get there, and then not only teach them but do it with them as well. And I think that's the big difference.
Yeah, awesome. Lovely story. And you're right. The stats are there. And having someone like you in their corner, doing it with them, pushing them to where they need to go to get them to that next level is, really key, right? Because, we wouldn't be where we are like without our coaches and mentors, right? Even though we are coaches and mentors ourselves, correct?
Well, yeah, let's talk about that accountability piece, actually, because it's really interesting. First of all, the mentor and coaching space has such a bad reputation, and I totally understand why, because most coaches and consultants are cowboys, and I think it's just a byproduct of the industry itself not being regulated, right? And when I say cowboys, I don't think anybody turns up to business with the intention to be terrible, but the problem is we've got a lot of people in the industry who don't have the results that they're trying to say that they can help people with. And they're putting forward all of this BS out there. And they don't have any demonstrated results themselves. They're not embodied and they haven't taken people to that result, but they're doing it because they think that that's what they have to do, because we're in this culture of highlight reels on social media. And so they kind of get swept up in all of that. People would be far more successful if they just got really authentic about what they have achieved, don't minimize the things that they've achieved, and then speak to that, right? And, one of the major problems is that we've got cheerleaders, not coaches, meaning that people are so desperate for money that they will take the money of the client rather than tell them the truth and hold them to account. And what we actually need are coaches and people that are going to hold people to a higher standard. And, you know, yourself and I, we both have mentors because we believe in the power of mentorship, but you and I have mentors who really hold us to account. And I think that that's the key. And unfortunately, you're going to piss a lot of people off when you do hold them to account. But I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to lead people to a result. And I think that's one of the unique things around my space and just my mentorship more broadly is like, I don't care if people leave and badmouth me. Like, it happens all the time. The bigger your business gets, the more visible you become. You've got lots of people that love you, and then you've got the equal amount of people that are going to say crap behind your back. And I actually use it as fuel because it just goes to show that those people that can't handle the truth and being held accountable are never going to make it in business, because business is hard work. And if you can't take me, you're not going to make it out there.
Yeah, so true. And it's like, I think the ego is the thing that gets in the way, right? Because people are like, I have to look a certain way, or I should know this, or I'm not going to ask the question, or, oh, you're triggering me. And, you know, this is not coming up. But, you know, all of this is coming up to work on, right? Because we've all got issues growing up, some a lot more than others. I know Shani's got an interesting background, right? Growing up as well. So more than most. And, you know, you have to face these things, and the coach, you know, or someone or people out there will put the mirror there, right? And then it's up to you to choose, do I want to work on this? You know, we've done huge amounts of work, you know, on ourselves to get to this point, to then be able to help others and get, you know, results in our different areas. So true. And I think, yeah, it's awesome what you do. And you know what, you attract, when you do it like that, you attract the right people that want to do, you know, that take the action. Because as the coaches, the mentors, we can't necessarily hold your hand the whole way, right? Like, we can show you the way, but it's up to them to be able to do it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, it's funny that you say that, because I will often say to my community, because I have people in 24 countries, right? And you know, I identified a few years ago there was like this major gap in the coaching industry, and I identified it because of how I was failing my clients. Because basically what would happen is I had a program and I had one-on-one coaching like that I would deliver. And I was following the modeling of the industry, which is you see your client for once a week, they log in, they get some one-on-one coaching, and then you see them again a week later. And so this was the coaching structure, right? And people would log in and I would give them the learnings of how to find buyers, not leads. And I'd say, go do your hour of power, which is a strategy that I created, which is literally the exact steps to follow for 60 minutes a day to build your business, right? And they would come back a week later and I'd say, how many hour of powers did you get done? Because they're supposed to do one a day. And most of them didn't do a full one. And there was, you know, I didn't get it done. And I realized that it wasn't me and it wasn't them. I realized that there was this fundamental issue with the way that coaching is delivered, which is basically you meet your mentor for once a week, the Zoom room shuts down, and then they're left alone to go and execute this information. And they don't know where to start because it's foreign to them. That's why they're working with you, because it's not integrated, right? So they can understand a concept, but then going to execute it requires a different strategy on its own. So what I did was I created a done with you mentor space, a membership space. So now they don't just learn what to do, but then my clients log in for up to 4 times a week and they do the strategy. They execute with me. They ask questions in real time as they're delivering it. And it's not group coaching, you know, it's not log into a Zoom and listen to the guru for an hour on the screen. It's super interactive while they execute. And, you know, and again, I say to my clients, just to kind of lead back to what we were talking about, I can give you everything other than fly to your country and make you log into the Zoom. That part you have to do. But otherwise, I've mapped everything out. You can't fail. All you got to do is open the Zoom room, right? And for some people, you know, they get it done. And for others, their excuses become bigger than their commitments. So
yeah, it's so true. And I think the done with you is a big factor, right? In getting people to do it, and just, it's like creating the habit basically, right? Of doing it as well. I think that's the big part. Because it takes,
yeah.
you know, a while, 30, 60 days, to create habits. And then when you're doing that, it becomes natural, right? That's what we want to do, that, unconscious competence, type of element there, where it just becomes natural. So I think, yeah, you're doing some great work there. And a very key thing that you said there, which let's delve into now, is about leads and buyers, right? What the difference between this? So share with us first, like, what is the difference? What are they? Yeah.
I love this topic so much because this is why, listen, even people who have a successful business, even people who are doing $500,000 a year, I guarantee it feels like a push because they're doing a lot of output for lead generation in order to get the input, right? So I just want to be clear for people listening. It doesn't matter whether you're at $0 just starting out or you're already successful. If you're successful and exhausted, something needs to be fixed. And there is a huge difference between a lead and a buyer. And this is where we get it wrong, because every business growth, marketing, sales program or coach that you ever go to will just tell you to generate more leads. It's the top of the funnel, strategy. Now, what we do at the top of the funnel, obviously, is going to be, I've had a total mind blank here. I hardly slept last night because my son was out. We were talking about this. My son's almost 18. He was out until midnight. I don't sleep properly when he's out. Ethan's just had a newborn. Like, we've got two people here who haven't slept properly. Let me start again. Whatever you put at the top of the funnel is going to determine the bottom of the funnel, meaning the sales and the conversions, right? So what's happening is a lot of people are focused on filling the top of the funnel with leads. But the more that you put leads at the top of the funnel, the lower the conversion is at the bottom, because leads don't actually buy, buyers buy. And there's obviously a big difference. And a lead is our demographic fit. So as an example, if you're a relationship coach, perhaps you work with, men between 35 and 55 and you help them to get a date. Maybe that's what you do. And so you would typically be used to going and looking for a demographic, a lead, whether you're at a networking event, whether you're on social media, whether you're running ads, you'll input the demographics, right? Either into your brain or the Facebook ad. You'll be like, okay, man, 35 to 55, location, single. But the problem is not all men aged between 35 and 55 that are single actually want a relationship. So now you're targeting people that aren't problem aware and solution seeking and invest money in the service that you offer. So a lead is important because it's the demographics, but it's actually only 50% of the equation. And a lot of the time we've got an email list full of leads, a social media friends or connections or followers list full of leads. And what I do is I created a human profiling system that I teach people, as you know, that allows them to be able to read another human being, either in person or online, without even having a conversation with them first, to know whether that person will ever buy from them, meaning that they've got the characteristics of problem-aware, solution-seeking, and invest in the type of service that you offer or product.
Yeah, love it. It's that psychographic, that other deep, human behavior side of things, right? Which is so true, of finding the right people, right? Instead of going through trying to sift through 100 people and most of them are not right. You may as well sift through the numbers that are going to be right for you, instead of because time is the most precious resource, right? We don't want to waste it on people that aren't going to buy in our business, especially. So yeah. So true. And I know, let's just talk, because people might say, hey, Shani, like, where do I find these people? This sounds great, or whatever like that, where do I find them? Because, it's not as easy. So do you want to just keep it simple and just like open people's eyes that they're everywhere, I guess, and where we can find them?
Well, exactly. Like, I mean, there's 8 billion people in the world, right? So obviously there's people everywhere, but you really want to be laser focused in where you're fishing. And so, fishing meaning, where are the pools of people that are my buyers, in drones, so to speak? Because as an example, one of the things I see for so many people is they attend a weekly or bi-weekly networking event because we get told that we should network and put ourselves out there. And unless that particular networking event has at least your demographic first, and then you can start to read the room using the system that I teach. Otherwise, you're just turning up to a networking event every single week for a dopamine hit for connection. And, with respect, I don't know about you, Ethan, but I don't have 2 hours out of my week every single week to drive to a networking event, speak to a bunch of people that suck my energy if it's not going to go anywhere, right? Just because somebody told me to go network. So you want to get clear on where your pools of buyers are, and that's either in person or online. And sometimes they're in the really unsuspecting places because, again, people are really black and white and really closed in the way that they think about sales and lead generation and buyer generation, right? So they're like, well, I'm only going to attend this event if it's to do with, let's use the relationship coach guy again. If it's a relationship coach, I'll only go there if it's an event with a relationship coach. But you need to get out of this boxed thinking and think to yourself, what are the other things that my buyers do that don't necessarily relate to my service or product? And where are they, right? What are the other parts in their journey that may not have anything to do with what I offer, but that's where the pool is going to be?
Yeah, definitely. So true. And when you start to look at that, it doesn't really matter what room you're in, whether it's in person or virtual, right? Or, in on social media, when you're looking at people, it's just putting that lens on, basically, right? Of analyzing people that way and going, yes, this sounds like it's a conversation, worth having as well. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of just kind of doing the niceties and the pleasantries at an event, as an example, right? Like, oh yeah, what do you do? It's the classic crap. What do you do? What'd you get up to on the weekend? Oh, how many kids do you have? And we're just like doing small talk without a strategy. Hey, if you want to ask people, do they have kids and what did they do on the weekend? Great. But do you understand how to then use that information to apply it through a lens of, is this person a buyer? And most people are having mindless conversations with people that are never going to become a client.
Yeah. And is this where, like, obviously, ideally you do it, but sometimes people walk up to you, right? As well. So, you've got to maybe have the assertiveness to go, hey, yeah, I've got to go off somewhere or something like that and not waste time.
Well, but this is the thing as well. I think we are Mark Boris, I've had the privilege and continue to have the privilege to spend time with Mark Boris. He's been, in many ways, I'm almost calling him a mentor of mine, even though it's indirect. And we had a conversation just after the Bruce Buffer event that happened recently. And Mark said to me, time is my most precious resource. And anytime someone gives me their time, I'm so grateful. It was really interesting, actually. I gave him a copy of my book and asked him to sign a copy of his book. And he put in there, when he made the sign in his book, he said, thanks for your time. And I thought, this is really interesting that Mark Boris, right, Australian business icon, is thanking me for my time. But then as I got to know him later on and realized that his view around time, and it really it's our most precious commodity. And so we've got to get out of this these chains of people pleasing, right? And you can deliver a message and be assertive and direct without being rude. But the problem is most people are more concerned about what they're saying rather than how they're saying it. And they're also not owning who they are and what they're here to do, right? So one of my clients asked me last week, she said, how do you fit it all in? And I said, you've got to get really clear on what you're here to do, and you say no to everything that isn't that. And that includes relationships, people, places, conversations, events, social activities. Like, I just say no to anything that isn't related to what I'm here to do. And I'm unapologetic about that.
Yeah, so true. And I'm the same, especially with, cutting negative people out, from your life, because I just drift normally. I don't necessarily say I'm not speaking to you anymore. You just stop, replying, basically, or stop meeting them. it's pretty simple, right? To do it without, telling them to F off or anything like that. And And once you do it, you might have a very small circle, but all of a sudden you've removed a lot of the negative resistance, right? And then you can have a really strong channel to go, I've got some people around me, even if it's very few people, but then going, I'm clear on where I'm going, right? And then no one's going to sort of pull me down or hold me back as well.
Yeah, and I think that's such a great point. And I also think it's really important to, I think the reason that we don't get rid of or remove people from our life is because we're scared of loss and grief. And we also think that that type of friendship, relationship, whatever it is, won't come again. And it's really interesting that you bring this up, because at the end of last year, I had such a significantly difficult time, because I had to end a relationship with my best friend, who's been my best friend for many, many years. And I really viewed the friendship as though he was family. And because I also don't have anything to do with any of my family, like my son is the only family that I have, right? So this particular friendship was not just a friend, but it was also like my safe place. Like if something ever went wrong, if I was homeless again, like this was going to be my friend that would look after me. And it wasn't that my friend was negative or anything like that, but he got a girlfriend for the first time since our friendship. And all of a sudden, I think he was trying to do the right thing by her, but in the meantime, what it did for me was it demonstrated the lack of loyalty, because basically it was like, I've got this girlfriend now, you can't come to my house, we can't do Christmas together, all this sort of stuff. And so for me, the fact that you could prioritize somebody else over the friendship in that way, immediately for me, it was the sign that the friendship it was time to let go of the friendship. And it was actually really hard, Ethan, because that was the one person, I keep my circle small, and he was the one person that I would call about anything and everything. And there was a lot of grief that went on by that friendship transforming. And it hasn't ended in a bad way, but it's not the same. And I just choose now not to participate in the friendship because of the lack of loyalty. But here's why I share this, because once I moved through the grief, on the other side of that, other people have started to come in that are now more aligned. And so this isn't to badmouth the friend. I want to be really clear. But we get so scared, we cling on to people because we're so scared of loss or being alone. But when you can let go of things that are no longer serving you, it's like a canvas. There's this blank space that you get to paint and create on the next thing. And sometimes, I don't want to say better, but maybe more aligned things come in.
Yeah. And it's also as we're growing, right? Like we're investing a lot into ourselves. We're like growing exponentially. And if
Yeah.
other people are not growing, they're dying, right? As you know. So the gap just gets bigger, right? In there. And
Yes.
then so it's natural sometimes that you will naturally drift. It's not that necessarily they're a bad person. It's just
Yeah.
that you're just going on a whole new level and they're just not ready to keep up in that way. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So it's powerful stuff. Let's talk just a little bit more around the buyer's element here, Shani, because I know you know so much about this, but some people might be like, can you just give me one thing, one little tip that might be able to help me just tell a little bit of a difference on what is a buyer, like someone that I should speak to here, a little piece of golden nugget for us.
Yeah, so let's use the example of social media then. And this, what I'll share is applied whether you're in person or social media, but let's give a tangible as an example, right? So if you go onto someone's profile, let's use the male dating coach again as the example. Let's say you're the male dating coach and you've landed on someone's profile and he's a man, and you've gone and had a look to see that he fits into that age bracket, and you can't see any evidence of him with another woman. So you're assuming that he's single because there's nothing in his photos to demonstrate that he's got a girlfriend. Before you start clicking add friend or trying to connect with this person thinking that he is a potential client for you, what I would do is I would go over to the about section and I would start to look for evidence that demonstrates that he is problem aware about being single and solution seeking about not wanting to be single. And some of those things will be glaringly obvious and some of them won't be. But as an example, I would be looking for what books is he reading? What check-ins has he done, if any? Or like, you can check in on Facebook, right? Or on Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook, have a look at the photos. Like, what is his photos telling you about, what he values? Is he out? Is he social? Is he a hermit? Is he at home? Is he like, we need to start looking for evidence. And then also, looking for what he's posting about. Like, did he check into an event? And what was he talking about with that event? So as an example, say he went to a Tony Robbins event. Well, Tony Robbins is the only well-known life coach that covers all areas of life. So did this guy talk about the relationship information that he learned from Tony? Or did he talk about the money information that he learned from Tony? Because that's going to tell you where his lens is, right? And they're just some really, by the way, I want to caveat this, Ethan, like that is the most simplistic way, as you know, because you know what I teach, like that's really high level, but I can't do it justice in 10 minutes, but just to start to give people an example, right?
Yeah, no, I think that was a great example. A lot of gold there. It definitely, with our coaching goes, a lot deeper in terms of what you share. But I think that gives people an understanding of just awareness. Look at a few of these things, start to make a decision. Don't just take it for face value of just looking at a profile and just adding people. Go that level deeper, and then multiple levels deeper, as needed from there. So yeah, really awesome points. So I know that you see a lot of challenges like with people, when you're coaching, mentoring them. What do you think is the biggest thing that holds them back from success the most?
Oh my God. Like this could be a whole podcast. Like between you and me, we could sit here and unpack this for hours.
Likely, yes, but we'll keep it whatever pops up in your mind right now, Shani, that you want to share.
I'll give you the first one. It's like the entry point barrier, and then there's a bunch of stuff that happens after it. But I've got a saying which is good operators get tired, but great business people get rich. And what I mean by that is most people go into business because they're in love with the thing that they want to do, whether it's the coaching, the consulting, the product, the financial services industry, the health industry, like whatever it is. They go into business because they love the thing that they do and they want to do more of it. So they think if I start my own business, I'm going to just be able to do what I love all day. But that's going to burn you out and get you exhausted really, really quickly, because as soon as you go into business and you realize that there's no HR department, you're it. There's no lead generation and marketing department, you're it. There's no sales closer department, you're it, right? And all of these things. And you go from being a 9-to-5 employee where you get to focus on the one thing to being in business where you're all of the things. You've got to learn to be great at business. And I think that's also why what you do is so special, Ethan, because you're teaching people, basically the MBA, like what do I need to do here? And if people learn to be great at business, they get to do more of what they love. But the problem is they avoid all of the things. They avoid understanding numbers and selling and content creation and marketing and communication and relationship building. And if that sounds exhausting to someone listening, then business probably isn't for you, because you've got to fall in love with the game of business, not just in love with the thing that you do. Otherwise, you're going to hate your life.
Yeah, love it. So true. And what I would just add to that is you need to understand it all well enough. Yes, at some point as you grow, you can start to outsource some of these functions, right? But you need to know enough about it so you can ask the right questions and make sure you're getting the right people doing the work, because they could not know what they're doing as well, right? And it could make your business even worse as well.
Yeah, it's such a great point. It's like a lot of people delegate stuff and they say, but I learned that I'm supposed to delegate. Yes. But look at the energy behind why you're delegating. If you're delegating something because you don't want to deal with it, then you're going to get burned by whoever you delegate it to, because you don't understand it enough, like you said, right? So if we're going to delegate, which yes, we need to, we've got to inspect what we expect, meaning, like you said, there's got to be a baseline understanding about this thing.
Yeah, so true. And once you do that, then you can, it's like trust but verifies, right? Then you see,
Yeah.
and you can ask the right questions. You can track them over time and going, we should be doing this, we should be doing that, instead of just letting them go and working it out later that it didn't work. So, yeah, really great points there. You definitely agree that you have to be good at business in all these areas. And then, you find people that can help you being part of that machine, right? That you're building in the business there. So love it. Awesome points there. Let's talk a bit about speaking now, right? Because I know, like myself, we speak on a lot of stages. You're speaking all over the world. You're doing a lot of your own events this year as well, which is cool, all over the world. So a lot of people here, want to be better speakers. Is obviously one of the biggest fears and things like that. So, what tip could you give, right? If people are wanting to, get into the speaking, make a big impact, to the audience in the room, what tips could you share with us here today?
So the first thing I'll tell you is that it'll come as a surprise for anyone who's heard me speak, but I've never done any formal training in speaking whatsoever. I don't know, have you, Ethan? I don't know if you have
Not
either.
properly, no. That's
Ah,
right. Yeah.
right. And I was a very shy, awkward child. I was significantly bullied at home and at school. Like, I was so scared to speak up because almost every time I did, whether it was at home or at school, there was physical ramifications, right? Um, and so I just share that because I don't think anyone's born good at speaking, and I don't think it comes natural. I think that it's a learned skill. But I didn't do any formal training. What I did do, because experience is the best teacher. And from about 6 months into my business journey, I started hosting weekly free events online for people to come into. And that's where I became better at speaking, by being in the work. Because, you train the schemas in your brain to become good at something when you do it and also when you mess it up. So even with my clients, they're like, what do I do here? And I'll tell them, but I'll say, now get on the sales conversation and mess it up, because you're going to learn more by messing it up than me just telling you what to do. So I think if you want to be a speaker, first of all, you have to create the opportunities for you to practice. So you and I were talking about this just before we started, right? I don't wait for opportunities to come to me. I go create opportunities. And then as a result, more opportunities come. I've just had somebody book and pay for me to speak at their event this year on reputational management. Now, I don't even talk in my content about reputational management, right? But once you start to be in the work and you build your own brand and your own business, you become sought out. But I think most people are waiting. They think that somebody's going to call them and give them a speaking gig. I think the number one thing is, Ethan, you got to go create your own opportunities, and then you become better at it.
Yeah, completely agree. And I'll just add, it's like going to the gym, right? You go to the gym the first time and you lift a small weight, and you're not going to get big, or you're not going to get fit by going on the treadmill once. You got to go consistently, right? And you get
Yeah.
better over time. And similar to you in a way, I was doing group coaching every week for years, right? So when you're delivering content every week, you naturally get better. You get more confident, more competent, right? In terms of what you're doing, you start to test things. You go, that didn't work. This worked a bit better. And all of a sudden it becomes natural for us, right? In that area there to be able to, and we just sort of switch the button on, right? So to speak. I think
Yeah.
that's what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. It, like, just becomes the thing that you do. And much like any habit, it's just embodied. And I think that's the key. You got to work towards it.
Yeah. And one thing I'll say to people is, I tell this in my clients as well at the start, if they're like never really done it before, I go, just do a weekly Facebook Live or an Instagram Live, like once a week, right? Because all
Yeah.
of a sudden there's no like recording a video 20 times to try and get it perfect, because it never is. You just do it, and you start to even just start there, right? Of getting yourself out there, learning how to talk on the fly. And then you start to build the muscle, that way as well.
Yeah, and I will often share with my community. And by the way, anyone can see these because they're all over social media. But I will grab links and share links to content of me on video 5 years ago when I started, and 4 years ago even, and even like 12 months ago. And I show my clients, like, I was out there putting myself out there. I looked terrible. I sound terrible. I was flat. I was nervous. Um, and that's the problem, right? You would see it as well. People get so paralyzed and frozen in trying to get ready to get ready, get ready to be ready. And it's like, hit record, you'll get ready while you're live, put the work out there. People aren't thinking about you unless they see you. It doesn't matter how bad you think you are. It's about connecting with others.
Yeah, totally agree. And they'll forget about it after a week. When you put a video up, they're going to forget about it after a week. There's so much content out there, right? So it's like all of a sudden they'll just, a year later, once you're better, they'll just remember the last video you did. And then all of a sudden you're this amazing speaker, right? That happens.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love it. And let's talk one other thing. I think people from speaking, I think you're great at this, Shani, is closing from stage, right? Because a lot of people I see out there, they're learning like, these speaker trainings are all like be a keynote speaker and deliver your message and things like that. And that's great. Keynotes are good to get some branding and things. But really, if you want to build a business, using speaking as a vehicle, you've got to be able to close from stage, right? To be able to make it a profitable event, right? So what tips can you give people to get into that zone or whatever, to think that, how do I create these events so I can create like a business out of this? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so many people want to speak because they want to share their story and they want to be heard. And I'm not saying that there's not a place for that, but you should be using speaking to sell. And, I've been privileged to speak many times for Success Resources, and they're the same people that put like Tony Robbins and Richard Branson and all those people on stage. And Success Resources don't have me come and speak on their stage because they want me to talk about my story. Success Resources have me on their stage because they want me to sell. And speaking from stage to sell is one of the most effective and quickest ways you will be able to build your business. Last year I spoke on stage at one point for Success Resources and came back with 30 new clients. So your speaking is not just about you sharing your story. I do incorporate my story into the presentation, but it's to teach something in order to position the offer that I'm making at the end. And so what I would say is stop going to trainings about learning about how to be a keynote speaker, because number one, you're not going to get paid for keynotes until you've built yourself a brand. If you want to speak, you've got to know how to speak to sell, because if you can't speak it, you can't sell it. And if you can't sell it, you can't serve people. And if you can't serve people, you're not going to have a business. So go and do the learnings on how to speak and sell from stage. And I don't know about you, Ethan, I have a program where I do that as well, where I teach people that. But that's how you're going to build your business. It's not just about you telling your story, because nobody actually cares, to be honest.
Yeah, there's some great points there. I love it, Shani. And one thing that I'll add, like, I didn't do the, specific trainings like this, but I just went to events. I went to events where people are pitching, that are selling, right? And I'm writing notes, going how I do, like, because they all do it a little bit differently, going, this one moved me more, this one influenced me more, or whatever like that. And I start to become curious. I'm not going there just for the content. Yes, there's good content there, but I'm seeing how they're doing it, right? So when you start to have a lens like that around people, you start to actually like going to events where they're pitching, because you're like, you start to going, how can I integrate this into what I'm doing or model it or whatever like that as well.
Yeah, it's a great point. And that's another reason, it's a really great point. That's another reason why I tell my clients to come to my events online or in person, even if they think that they've heard the information 50 times, because now that you know my information, now turn up and, like you said, watch through the lens of how is she selling? How is she positioning? How is she structuring, so that I can take it away and do it myself? Exactly.
Yeah, the best point. Love it there. Awesome stuff. You also have your amazing book, From Ignored to Adored. So yeah, tell us more about this awesome book. Yeah.
It's so funny. As soon as you finish writing a book, you hate it and you don't ever want to think about it again. And I'm actually writing a second book, my next book this year, but I wrote that book a couple of years ago and people still buy it. I mean, people are buying it every single week, and they reach out to me and they say, oh my God, this was amazing. So don't listen to my opinion about it, because I don't even like that book anymore. But people are telling me every single week that it's just an incredibly easy read. It's very short. It's like 130 pages or thereabouts. You can get through it really quickly, but it explains to you how to show up on social media, and how to present your ideas and how to connect with people that you want to serve. Because even though you have the best of intentions, you probably don't realize it, but there's certain things you'll be doing that are actually turning people off, and that's why you're getting rejected. So I put in front of you in this book all of the things that people are doing on social media, because we got taught to, much like lead generation, that aren't actually working, and show you a better way.
Yeah, love it. Awesome stuff. Definitely check out Shani's book there, and part 2 will be coming at some point. Of another book, and that I'm in the process of writing my first book as well. So it's definitely an interesting feat going through that. But looking forward, it's like you said, looking forward to when it's done, or at least it's going through the publishing phase or whatever. So once the writing part's done. So yeah, awesome. Well, yeah, awesome stuff there. I think it's a lot of value, obviously, that a lot of people are sharing about it. So definitely check it out for everybody. And you shared so much value with us here today, Shani. I guess as we're starting to wrap up, what one key piece of advice would you like to give to all the entrepreneurs watching and listening today?
I think the thing I'd finish up with is you've got to back yourself 24/7. There's no days off. And you've got to have so much conviction that outweighs anybody else's criticism or opinions. Because if you are really steadfast in what you're here to do and who you are, then nobody else can take you off course. And I'm more interested in being supportive of myself, as opposed to listening to the outside world's opinions.
Awesome stuff. Love it. Go all in and make it happen basically from there. And yeah, we connected, through our networks. I learned about your awesome journey from your various challenges, growing up to now being Global Coach of the Year. You're an amazing woman, Shani. You're a beacon of, this is how it's done. And I'm going to here to hold your hand and tell you what to do. And it's up to you if you're ready to go on the journey with me and actually create the success. And I'm sure you continue to help, people foster the human connection and be seen and heard for the unique message and be successful in business and make those 7 figures, right? And beyond from there as well. Very grateful that we connected and look forward to partnering and looking at other things that we can do together. So Shani, how can people find you and get in contact with you?
Thanks, Ethan. That's so lovely. I would suggest people go over to my website. It's just my name.com, which is shanitaylor.com. The very front page is all of my upcoming events, free, in person and online. And other than that, come and follow me on Facebook or Instagram. It's Shani Taylor Official with the blue tick.
Awesome, guys. Well, definitely check out Shani there. Go to her website, shanitaylor.com, Facebook, Insta, check her out, see what she's doing online and, reach out. She's got a lot of events all over the world, not just in Sydney, but, other places around the world. So wherever everyone's listening in from. And it's been a pleasure interviewing you, Shani, and thanks for being on the Business Grow Show.
Thanks for having me, Ethan.
Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening to this show where we talk about everything on business growth. And please like, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as Ethan Cassiotis, or visit my website, ethancassiotis.com. If you want to grow and scale your business, you can reach out to me on any platform to see if we're a good fit. I completely agree with you, or do I? The only way you know is if you tune in next time. So until next time, remember that our business grows when we learn skills and take action using them in spite of fear. So remember to design your growth and results.